Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about how to create your own customized bot using both Langchain and Pinecone. So first things first, we use pip install. So pip install, the format might be different depending what device you use. So you first do pip install Pinecone, Langchain, and OpenAI along with several other libraries. And then after that, you take a bunch of PDF files. So before we get into that, let's talk about what Langchain is and how it works. So Langchain is an open source framework that is used to link multiple LLMs together, and that will prove to be very useful in the program we're going to create. So basically, let's say you have a very large document, maybe 100 pages long, and then let's say you're trying to find a specific piece of information. Well, that's going to be a pain in the neck. That will be very hard. However, VectorDB is there to save the day. First, let's say you have a 100-page document, then the first step in the process, it'll break it into chunks. In these chunks, that 100-page document, the reason why we need those chunks is so that it could make it easier for the database to read it. So in chunks, let's say the 100 pages changes into chunks of 10 pages. They'll be much easier to find um, a specific piece of info. So then, let's talk about the process. So the first step is the user input or the prompt. Then we'll go to a vector DB store, in this case, which is Pinecone. So Pinecone is the vector DB we'll use. Then from Pinecone, it'll take the relevant info out of that from those chunks. It'll take the relevant info, and then it'll show the output. So it'll give the reply. So that's basically what we're gonna do today. So for my project idea, I used I took the top 15 fast food restaurants, and then I linked them together to create my own customized bot where I can ask any questions I want, like what are some vegetarian options at Burger King, for example. So you can just ask any question you want. So I took the top 15. I found a PDF uh, PDF menu online, and I just downloaded it. And then after you find those PDF files, then you just store it into a drive folder. My drive folder was called restaurants. And then just copy that key, the path, and then just paste it here. So here we just used a library called Directory Loader, from Langchain, which will help us load all those files. So it may take some time for it to load everything, right? So then after you load those, then here comes the next part. So the next part, just as we talked about, is splitting it into several chunks. So in order to do so, we must import something called langchain.textsplitter. TextSplitter will allow us to create into several chunks. So for my chunk size, I chose 1000, which is demonstrated as tokens, which are basically words. So it's going to split into chunks of 1000 tokens, or words, basically. And that's I just called that value, so it's a lot of information there. Now that after splitting it to chunks, you must put it into a vector DB. In this case, that vector DB is Pinecone. So you must get an API from Pinecone to connect it to the vector DB. So in this case, you must have a Pinecone account. The accounts are free, so you don't have to worry about that. After you create the account, you click Create API Key. You can name it anything. I'll name it Demo Create Key, and it's as simple as that. You just click Copy Key Value in order to retrieve that API key. So then you go back and create a variable called Pinecone API Key and paste that API. And then also the Pinecone environment, which is basically this right here. So then also you must have an OpenAI account too. It might cost money to use that API key, so just a heads up. And then after you fetch after you fetch both API keys, then you can move on to the next step. So we import Pinecone and then also a bunch of LangChain modules too. And then the only thing you have to do after this code or is have an index. So you go back to the Pinecone website and then click indexes. Well, keep in mind this is actually free. However, you can only use one index at a time. So you can name your index anything. But if you have the starter plan, then you must put 1536 dimension, and then you can click create index. But here's the index I already have from the past. So basically, you just call a variable. I name my variable index name, and then equals, and then in quotations, you just put the index name. So my index name is Langchain in this case. And then now you can just test it out. So I named a variable called query, which is basically the prompt. And then my question was, what are some vegetarian options at Burger King, right? And it will give that answer, but the only problem is that it's not like short and it's not organized. It's just too long and it's not easy to read. So, with the help of OpenAI, which will actually help us make those responses shortened, clear, and to the point. So that's why we need the OpenAI. So from LangChain, we must import OpenAI, and then using OpenAI from LangChain, it will make those responses much better. So let's say you have a question like, what items has the most sugar at Starbucks? Well, keep in mind in the some of the PDF files might not have all the information. So this is a good sign since it's not making up or hallucinating the information. So since the PDF file I had for Starbucks it didn't really have like all the information like sugar and it's like sugar content. So this is just showing how it actually takes that data to consideration. So let's say maybe I have another question like what item is the most expensive? Let's say at any restaurant you could put like at maybe Subway, right? So what item is most expensive at Subway? Then based on the given content, the most expensive item at Subway is this half pound beef cheddar sandwich, which costs $8.99. Right? So maybe some of the information might be inaccurate. So for that, you might have to check it out. But yeah, so that's how you create a simple, easy 10-minute chatbot using OpenAI, LinkedIn, and Pinecone.